Hello and thank you for joining us at the National Cryptid Society. I know it's been a little while, but managed to find some time, as a lot of people have. I hope everyone is safe and sound at home, especially during this time of uncertainty. If you are one of the many people who cannot be home and are out serving others or in some critical function, God bless you and thank you. The following accounts are from people just like you and me. They've had encounters with creatures that they just can't explain or that shouldn't be there. Now, I'm not a cryptozoology expert. I never will claim to be. I'm an enthusiast like many of you. The following accounts I'm not going to pick apart or try and explain away. I'm going to tell their story. Recently, there's been so much that has happened that I would have never believed could happen in my lifetime. But yet here we are. So I'm going to keep an open mind, as I hope you do too. Welcome to the National Cryptid Society Case Files. This report comes from Iowa City, submitted by Anonymous around 2016 or 2017. I live in a large college town in Iowa. Around the time of this encounter, I used to smoke cigarettes at an unhealthy rate. Since then, I've quit. One early spring night, while the air was still mild, I was out on the back porch smoking and eventually finished it. And all around the drainage pond behind our house, the ducks were particularly active that night, as were the crickets, toads, and some frogs. It was around 10 or 11 p.m. at that time. I heard a mother and a few of her ducklings feeding and squawking amongst themselves. Several families of crickets were chirping about our family's fence. Several, mostly male and female frogs and toads, were in heat and using their mating calls. A wonderful, relaxing cacophony of nature. I then lit up a second cigarette and had gotten through about a third of it when I heard a large splash in the pond. Then everything went silent. For a second I thought it was a dead tree branch falling in, or maybe some punk had thrown some rocks into it to spook me. This is far from what happened. The pond itself is about 7 to 10 feet deep where I saw this figure standing. It looked almost emaciated, tall and gaunt, its arms long and skinny, its stomach flat and sucked in. The ribs were showing even. From the description, it seems like a human with half a soul from the old English myths. I couldn't see any features, but from what I could see of its silhouette, it was tall. Its face and neck were skinny as well. I was so freaked out by the sight of it, I immediately put out my cigarette and went inside. It was coming towards me, slowly wading through the water, and I feel it's still out there. This case file comes from David of Pineville, Missouri. On December 12, 2018, on his family farm, he had a dangerous encounter with something. Okay, so I'm sitting in my basement, putting wood in the wood stove. It's about 3 a.m.-ish. I'm looking down at my phone, and I get this creepy feeling. I look up, and looking in my window right at me is this gray-looking thing, kind of poking its head up in the window at me. So I grabbed my shotgun I had near my chair and bolted it at the basement door. It shrieked this really crazy-sounding shriek and began this, on all fours type hopping gallop motion across my yard. It was so fast my dog barely caught up to it. It swiped at my dog's left front leg and cut him really deep. So 3 nights later, I'm still on the great white hunter mode, and I had set up a bird's nest of sorts on the hill across my house, opposite direction it ran off towards. Facing my house, about 2 a.m. rolls around, and I hear this sound eerily similar to what the alien from the Predator movies, coming from my right direction, and I commenced to watch this thing creeping up on my house on all fours. It climbs into the tree behind my house, and for what felt like hours, just watched my house. So I texted my wife and told her to turn the porch light on. When she does, it squealed really loud and bolted out of the tree in the same direction it ran off the last time I encountered it. Now, I don't want to sound like a madman here, but no kidding. 2 nights later, I'm back in self-proclaimed sniper point, watching and listening for movement. We have a big street light in our yard that illuminates the front part of the yard fairly well. Anyways, about an hour goes by and nothing. So I begin to walk back up towards the house. I have a rifle on my back and a handgun in my hand, all moving like I spent 2 years in the jungle in Vietnam, and out of nowhere this thing comes bolting out of the darkness and swiping its long arms at me. So I did what anybody would do. I screamed and I peed myself, which, in my defense, I did, but maintained enough to fire a round off. When I did that, it grabbed the sides of its head like someone would cover their ears and let this god-awful smell out and bolted off. I'm trying to remain calm, not wanting to shoot my house, but the adrenaline was so strong, so I dumped the mag off like a proper scared asshole should. And I heard the round hit it, so I run to the house, and I go back with my brother and my dog, looking for blood trails. I know I heard a round make contact because it screamed afterwards. There was no blood spots we could find or anything. It's just tracks, so this thing's got a really tough hide on it. And since then, we've had several run-ins with these things at night. We have a cave on our property, and there are tons of others surrounding us as well. This thing is real.
I am reporting this to you because I was watching Extinct and Alive, their episode about Black Panthers, and I thought, wait a minute. Back in '06, it was around August, I was driving home, and home being Bailey, Colorado. As I was driving through our neighborhood, which is a mountain town, a huge Black Panther came across the front of my car. I immediately broke as fast as I could, looked up on the side where it had gone down, and it stopped to watch me. I watched for a few minutes as it slank away, and I was just stunned by this big feline. I knew it wasn't a regular house cat because it was the size of my front hood of my car. Not only that, I went to school at the University of Houston, where we had Shasta, a cougar, in a glass cage that everyone could walk around and see. So I had grown up seeing Shasta. I knew that this was a mountain lion of sort until I noticed, I mean, it was pretty obvious that the black cat, a Black Panther, running across the front of your the road. So I thought I would, bring it to your attention. It's something I've told people before, and of course they pass me off and say, no, there's no such thing as Black Panthers in Colorado. And I don't know, I jumped on the internet and was typing in Black Panther Colorado, and I came across one of your reports and thought, well, holy cow, it looks like that somebody has also seen this.
I had to pick up my son when he got off work at 1 a.m. while his truck was in the shop. One night, as I pulled out of the driveway, something ran alongside the truck, just on the edge of the headlights on the passenger side. It was black, about the size of a large dog, but it didn't run like a dog. It kind of rocked front to back, taking leaps, not strides. As soon as it reached the end of the fence, it ran away. Several years later, I saw a documentary that showed a black panther, jaguar, something like that, and it ran like the one I'd seen. I don't drink. I really saw it. My friend, my brother, Dad, and I saw a black animal in a field to our right. We stopped the vehicle to get out. This occurred 10 minutes before sunset. The cat was in the grass stalking mule deer. There are more mule deer here in this area than anywhere I've been. My dad saw it in a field as we were driving. My dad threw a large rock towards it, approximately 30 yards, and spooked it. That's when I saw its tail, and I saw it was clearly a black cat. It ran diagonally towards the road and ran into the tree line. I ran towards it, but I heard something in the bushes behind us on the opposite side of the road that startled us back to the truck. The animal was a black cat, way too big to be a house cat or bobcat. It looked like a panther. It was large with a long tail. I live in a large senior apartment building, rectangular and almost a block long, running north and south. The front entrance and back patio are in the middle of the building. A concrete walk/trail surrounds the building. I took my little dog out to do her business, and I sat in the patio chair. Looking south, coming around the corner, was a big black animal. I thought it was my neighbor's dog, Banner, a black lab. I yelled and said to my dog, "Look, it's Banner." The animal stopped and looked towards us. I could see that it was not Banner. I thought maybe a large raccoon because I've seen them before, but it did not walk like a raccoon, very distinctive walk. It was more cat-like. Then I saw its large, thick tail. As it walked east, its walk and profile was that of a large cat, similar to a mountain lion. The only difference was its color, all black like a panther instead of tan like a normal mountain lion. When my dog barked, it ran up the hill and disappeared. It was the size of a black lab, around 4 feet from head to tail. The next morning I looked for tracks in the area where he had ran up the hill. I didn't find any. Please note that the night temperature was around 25 degrees and the ground was still hard in the morning. It was too large to be any domestic house cat. I let management and the other residents know about the cat, and to be careful at night walking their dogs.
But I thought I would give you guys a call and let you know.
It really did look like Mothman.
In the early morning hours of November 27th, 2020, we received a message on our hotline from two women who had just experienced something strange right outside Oregon, Wisconsin. A humanoid creature with wings, red eyes, describing something that looked like Mothman.
We were driving about 20 miles out of Madison, Wisconsin it was Thanksgiving of 2020, and we go on very frequent drives, and we've never seen anything like this, but a large creature swooped down, sort of passing by the road and going back up, and it looked like a large winged humanoid. I don't know how else to describe it other than saying it looked like Mothman, which I know that I know that most of the Mothman are in West Virginia, and that's a little bit that's kind of a known thing, but it really did look like Mothman, or it really looked like a pterodactyl or a Mothman of some sort. It was very, very, very large. Yeah, that's what we saw, and I want to report it because I'm an avid cryptozoology fan. And we decided to drive back to the location that we saw it the first time, and we didn't see it swooping like we did before, but there was a large creature standing in the field, and it was a large winged humanoid. It wasn't quite it was a bit its limbs were a bit thicker than normal humanoid limbs. It wasn't as gangly as a human being would be. It was a bit like, almost like if a Sasquatch had wings. I don't know how else to describe it. The wings were very big, but it had these piercing red eyes, and we didn't have any lights shined that way because it was out the back of the car that I was looking at it. It was out the back of the car that I was looking at it.
Instant fear. Like, right now, just saying it again, I have goosebumps on my arms and my legs. I had felt like that really...
A 38-year-old mechanical engineer and his fiance were driving home through Ocala National Forest in Florida on the night of October 11th, 2020, when a strange creature darted out in the road in front of their vehicle. Here's the report. I was driving east on 19 tonight, and a large black ape ran out of the woods on all fours from the woods on my right and ran in front of my car into the woods on my left. I had to tap the brakes not to hit the animal. It was not a bear, a cat, or a dog. Long black hair covered the entire body, and I was not able to see its hands, feet, ears, or face. It had a slim build, about the size of a human. It was very fast on its hands, but ran with its back erect, like 45 degrees from horizontal. I still have chills just thinking about it. I couldn't believe my eyes. Spotted at night between 8 and 9 p.m. on October 11th, 2020.
I had just picked up a puppy. I was driving home. It had gotten dark. After we picked up the puppy, we stopped and got some food. And then proceeded, just put in, home on my GPS, and I followed the route. So I was driving up 19, headed back to Palm Coast where I live. And I had one car behind me. They were, a ways back, but they were behind me. And I was driving probably around 60 miles an hour. Just going down the road. It was totally dark out. That road's not lit up at all. So it's just my low beams or whatever. And I had my fiance was with me, and the puppy was sitting on her lap on the passenger seat. She basically was looking down, messing with the puppy. I had my left hand on the steering wheel. I had my right hand kind of petting on the puppy's head, but I was looking forward. And out of basically the corner of my right eye on the right side, something was running out of the woods extremely fast. And the very first thing, when it was very far on the side of the road, actually like on the edge of the woods, the first thing that popped in my mind is like a bear, because I saw black fur. But it bolted right across the road in front of the car to where I actually had to hit the brakes to slow down so I didn't hit it. And as it ran right in front of my car across the road at a very fast speed, I basically just saw what looked like some type of ape running on its hands, I guess. So it wasn't like horizontal like a dog would run or a pig would run. Its back was kind of at like a 45-degree angle. As it was running, it had very long front arms, and the back legs, even though it was running, they were kind of tucked. They weren't like extended out to the back of it. They were kind of, I don't know if you've ever seen like how I guess a monkey or something would run, but it was running like long arms barreling forward, and then the back legs kind of tucking and following behind it. But it was extremely fast, and it was running the entire time. So it was running when it was coming out of the woods, ran across the road, and kept running into the woods. It had, I guess, sort of long black hair, completely covering the entire thing. So I didn't see its feet, I didn't see its hands, I didn't see ears, I didn't see its face. I just saw black. I mean, I don't know if I could give you a length of the hair, but it wasn't super long, it wasn't super short. But it was just kind of thin build. Kind of, I guess, how you would describe an ape or a man or whatever, but literally no man, I don't care if even they're wearing like a suit, could move the way it did across the road at that speed and on like barreling on its hands. And it just shot out in front of me. I tapped the brakes. Like, I didn't slam the brakes and skid out. I slowed down enough that I didn't hit it. And I never saw its face or any like ears or anything like that. And immediately after, like when I hit the brakes, that's when my fiance looked up, and all she saw, because she would what to look at or whatever, just at the very corner of her eye, she just saw something going into the woods. Like, she had no idea what it was. I was like, immediately cold chills, all the hair on my body stood up. I almost like couldn't talk because I had like that adrenaline, and I was like, oh my God, did you see that? She's like, what? And I was like, it was some kind of monkey, and like she started cracking up because she was messing with her. She was driving down the road saying, I don't even know what I just saw. I can't believe I just saw this. And I was just extremely like nervous feeling, that cold feeling you get like when you get scared. And I was talking to her about it, trying to explain it to her. And I ended up passing my turn. The GPS wanted me to turn at 4:45 to go home, and I ended up having to just keep driving, and there was another turnoff up ahead which I took. But that's pretty much it, and I couldn't stop thinking about it in the entire drive home, to the point where when I got home I just started Googling stuff to try to make some sense out of it. And that would pretty much recap the whole thing. So
Okay.
the hair was black. It wasn't like, it was black and like maybe it was covered in it. Like, I didn't see any, I just saw hair, black hair, and like a, you know, some kind of a ape-like figure. That's the best I can describe it. I don't know if it's more chimp-like or more gorilla-like or something like that, but it was very like a slim build, like a slim athletic build. It wasn't husky. It wasn't bulky.
Okay, so the way the animal articulated, you said that you immediately thought of a bear as it was coming out of the woods, but as it crossed your path, the way it articulated, did that give you the impression of the ape because the arms were long and the bear thing was only because at the corner of my eye I just saw black fur. But when it actually went in front of my headlights, like I have a newer car with LED headlights, everything lights up white. It's not like they're yellow headlights. It's very clear. And it was not a bear. There's no way it was a bear. It was the way it was shaped. Number one, the body shape of it, the really long. It looked like, not like it would look like it was running on its hands, not like an animal that's on all fours, if that makes sense.
So you're saying that it ran on its hands, not like an animal that would usually, another quadrupedal animal that would usually run on all fours. It's running on all fours out of circumstance, or out of necessity.
I think if it wasn't moving that fast, it wouldn't have been running that or moving that way. Exactly.
Okay. Did you happen to see a tail?
No. No tail. There's definitely no tail.
So your fiance had kind of giving you a little hard time about it right after this happened?
Yeah, like she was just kind of laughing about it. You know, you probably just saw a monkey. There's monkeys in the forest. And I go, yeah, like little macaques or something I've heard of on some island over there. But it was way too big. That's one other thing I haven't really described is the size. So it's hard. I can't give you a size if it just stopped and stood up. I couldn't tell you exactly how tall it might be. But just looking at it and, you know, I'm a mechanical engineer. I design stuff, so I have a pretty good eye for things like that. And it was way bigger than a small monkey, and it was black, and those monkeys are not black, so it's definitely not one of those. I would say if it was to just stand up, over 5 feet tall for sure. It was too big, I think, to be like a macaque or anything like that. It wasn't small. It wasn't like huge. It wasn't like a giant like gorilla, like a big one that you might see like at a zoo. But it was a pretty good size. It was at least as big as me, and I'm 5'8", so.
Okay. Let me see.
But you know, it's like barreling down the road, and it's not extended. So I do remember the front arms being very, very long in proportion to the legs.
Did you hear any vocalization from the animal?
Nothing. No.
Did you have the radio on, or you had said you had your right hand on the puppy at the time?
Yeah.
Were you just engaged in casual conversation in the car?
Yeah, like I think the radio was on quiet because I didn't want to disturb the puppy. It's like 8 weeks old. It was on very low. I couldn't tell you like what we were talking about or the last thing said or when. I don't know. I don't know. But it wasn't like we were just carrying on and you know, like I know she was looking down. She wasn't paying attention at all, and she didn't look. She was like, after it happened, she was like, man, I wish I would have seen that, you know, and like she was upset that she missed it.
Did the car behind you, did their headlights strike the animal as it crossed in front of you?
I doubt it. If they saw, if it was in their headlights at all, it would have been either on the left side or the right side, because I came so close to it that I thought I was going to hit it. Like, it was very close to my car. It wasn't like it was right in front of my bumper and I almost clipped it, but it was just feet in front of me. It never looked in my direction. No, I just saw the side of it the whole way. Like it's like it was running already when it was still in the woods and just continued to run across the road as if there was no road there. So I just saw the side of its body the entire time, and it didn't glance at me, it didn't look at me. It continued running from within the woods on one side to the other side of the woods on the other side.
So with the speed of your vehicle going around 60 miles an hour on the road,
Yep.
and you're saying it was in front of the car, can you approximate maybe how many feet it was in front of the car at your last, I guess, at the last point before it crossed your vehicle?
Yeah, so I would say 10 to 15 feet away is when I applied the brakes, because I thought I was going to crash into it.
Okay, and you never came to a complete stop. You just slowed down and hit the brakes, right?
Yeah, like I just tapped them, and it was moving so quickly. Like I tapped the brakes, and it was gone, like immediately. I tapped the brakes. She looked up. It was already on the other side of the road in the bushes. It happened so quickly, due to my speed and the speed that it was crossing the road. Like it was so fast.
In addition, you had another car behind you, so if you would have slammed on the brakes, you might have caused an accident.
Right, like there's a lot going through my mind at the time. I was even thinking I should pull over, I should look at my GPS, I should record exactly where I am, but there was just so much all at once. I kept driving, and literally I was freaked out. So,
have you reported this to any other friends or family, or have you reported this to any local authorities or park rangers in Ocala?
So basically, when we got back into town, my fiance's parents were watching our son. We were surprising him with the puppy, so I told them when we got there. I think she had already been texting her parents what had happened on the ride home, but I told them, and I actually kind of sketched out a little thing to them on a piece of paper when I got there. And after that, on the way home from her parents' house, we stopped at my parents' house to show them the puppy, and I told them about it. I texted my brother, who lives in California. I texted him last night. And then I told a buddy of mine today that I talked to, the guy I used to work with. Yeah, that's pretty much it.
Okay.
But no, I didn't call the police or park. No, I didn't do any of that. I just told people I knew.
Okay. Would you be adverse to speaking with a park ranger in the park?
No.
How did this experience make you feel?
Instant fear. Like, right now, just saying it again, I have goosebumps on my arms and my legs. I had felt like that really cold, scared feeling of just terror. I guess severe anxiety, almost to where I felt like when I was talking to my fiance to describe it to her, I almost was trying to catch my breath. Like when you get really scared, like almost if you're about to get in a fight, that adrenaline rush, that's what I felt. And then some. Like the hair on the back of my neck was standing up.